I loved Attack of the Clones a lot more in the past than I do now.
Yeah.
And it's not even anything bad that happens. It's
Mhm.
just that I kept falling asleep when watching it. And then there's also certain things that I've gone to appreciate. You know, I've made a lot of content surrounding like certain characters like Mace Windu, who's
Mhm.
always like, who's kind of crapped on by a lot of the community,
Mhm.
but then rewatching Clone Wars and like seeing his episodes, you're like, he didn't do any of that stuff that people say he does. Like, none of it.
From a galaxy not too far from here, this is Going Rogue. I'm Andrew D. Malanta. Last week we had on Evan Bushkar, another Schmodown friend of mine. Loves to wear gold jackets. But this week I am joined by another TikTok friend of mine. And he goes by the name of Darth Choco. Thank you for joining me today, man. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a wild ride, like starting to make content.
Mm-hmm.
So like, ever since I was like an edgy 15-year-old, I used the name Darth Chocolate like online for stuff.
Yeah.
And it just kind of stuck. And then I joined TikTok and Darth Chocolate was taken.
Yeah.
So I went with Darth Choco, and then that's what took off. And now we're here.
Yeah. When did you join the TikTok game? Because I had Element on a couple of weeks ago, and he said it's been the last 2 years, I believe he said. Like, were we around the same timeline as him, or was it different for you?
So he's been in the game a lot longer than I have,
Mm-hmm.
especially on YouTube and all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When pandemic hit, I lost my job. There's crazy things going out in the world, and starting to be anxiety inducing. And also I've always wanted to make Star Wars content. I've read tons and tons of books. I would listen to all these podcasts and all this stuff. And after you catch up on some of the information, you re-listen to a podcast and they're like speculating on something. You're like, no, we have that answer. It's answered here, and and all this stuff. And I was like, I just need to start making content. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do it unless I have some skin in the game. So I bought this microphone, which isn't anything special, but I hadn't made any content, and buying a USB mic to me was like a step.
It's like, whoa,
yeah,
step in the right direction, yeah.
And then a friend of mine had her podcast. I went on there on May 3rd, and then I made like 2 TikToks that day, and that's it. So yeah, May 3rd, 2020 was when it's my first content.
Yeah, so really the point of these episodes, having all these people on, I've said it every episode, it's to reconnect with people. Because celebrations coming up, I wanted to have especially with older friends, reconnect with them and talk about what they like about the celebration and stuff. But for newer friends like yourself, I wanted to get to know you guys before we show up at celebration and shake hands for the first time. I didn't want it to be awkward. Be like, oh, okay. And just like having in past, I wanted to, have a conversation with everybody, get to know everybody a bit more. But so rewind it back.
That's my secret, Cap. Yeah. I'm always awkward. No.
Hey, me too. But it'll be less awkward when we see each other now. But so just to rewind a bit more, I've been asking everybody this: where does your Star Wars journey begin? Who introduced you to the franchise? When did you get introduced to the franchise? And how long have you been a part of the fandom?
So I don't quite remember the beginning, but my mom has always been a closet nerd. She was more of a Trekkie, but just space, sci-fi, time travel, anything like that is always been her thing. And I just remember watching a VHS tape of Empire Strikes Back over and over and over again. Yoda scared the crap out of me, but I loved him. When he gets introduced, he's the funniest thing in the world, and I laughed hysterically. And then he gets serious, and it terrifies me. And so yeah, that's kind of where it began. And I've just always kind of been a fan. But like when the special editions came out, and that's just when I started buying action figures, we were playing, Star Wars at school and stuff like that. So yeah, I jumped in at the special editions.
Nice. Yeah, I remember that campaign of like, because that's when the toys really started coming back. That's when I like yourself. That's when I really started getting the toys again, because like the special editions like reinvigorated a lot of people's fandom. Because I would like you, I would work tapes out of the originals until the special edition came out, and that's when it's like, oh, my parents is like, okay, we have so many Star Wars toys now. I don't know what to do with them. Star Wars Celebration is coming up in the next couple months. I talked to Element a couple weeks ago. He said you've been to one of them so far. The last time it was in Anaheim, I believe he said.
Yeah. So I went to 2015, and that was the best con I've ever been to in my entire life, hands down. So I didn't even know what to expect. That was when they dropped the trailer for The Force Awakens. And so getting to watch that for the first time, and we're all just in line waiting for panels, like freaking out about like different certain things. Going to the panels and seeing, I got to see I got to see Dave Filoni's panel where he was actually talked about the Bad Batch way back,
Really?
way back
Wow.
then. He actually revealed a bunch of stuff that ended up happening in season 7 of the Clone Wars, but we didn't know that was going to happen back then. I got to see Billy D. Williams' panel, but Carrie Fisher's panel was awesome. She was a gem of a human. And it's still impressed on my memory when a guy in the audience was asked her a question. He was like, "Hey, we were supposed to take a picture at this last con, but didn't get to. Can I get one now?" And she's like, "Sure, come on up." And she had this big old bearded guy, climb up on the stage with her, and then she made out with him on stage while they took him. And I was like, she's just wild. Like it was hilarious.
Yeah, it's one of a kind of person. But what would you say was like the biggest panel you got in at that time?
The biggest panel, I didn't see any of the big ones. There was always just the small stuff that I wanted to see, like intimate things with specific people, or with just the voice actors, or I think that the Carrie Fisher one was my favorite of the panels.
Are you looking forward to any other panels like that? Because I know they haven't dropped the schedule yet, and I can only assume Obi-Wan will. I'm speculating that Obi-Wan's gonna be a panel, and they're gonna air the episode at Celebration before it officially airs on Disney Plus. That's what I'm hoping for. Are you excited to the possibility of bigger panels like that, or like you said, you can try to? Because that's what I do. I seek out the smaller like ones with the book panels. I've been to every celebration that I've been to. I've always looked for the book ones. They talk about all the canon novels and stuff like that. Are you looking for those ones, or are you gonna try to get into like the big panels? Like, because you have a huge social media platform right now of all the followers you have on TikTok. So are you trying to do something like that, or just stick to your tried and true and stick to the small panels?
For me, it's never been about like the size of the audience, but it's been like what you're doing now. It's about the conversations. It's about being able to connect with people, because that's my favorite part of it. And so I need to speak with all of the Project Luminous writers, because the High Republic has been so dang good. And the authors have just been really cool people. I actually just today received, DJO sent me one of his own books, Ballad and Dagger, to check that out before it comes out. But yeah, I'm excited to be able to spend time with those people and all the writers. Yeah. The books are my favorite part of Star Wars, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what I love about, because people always say, like, we're both aware of like the Talk fan base, and they have all their like, oh, Disney ruins this and Disney ruins that. It's like, well, what part of Star Wars are you paying attention to? Are you just watching the movies? Are you watching the shows? Are you reading the comics or the books? Like, there's so much for everybody to enjoy. I think that like because I've been on record saying there's no atmosphere like Celebration. You can't replicate that atmosphere anywhere. I mean, the closest you can probably get to, I've heard, is probably Star Wars Weekends when they had them. but I never went to one of those. Living out here in Orlando for so long, I never went to a Star Wars weekend, and my friends would look at me like, "You're crazy, and you haven't gone yet." It's like, well, I don't have the money to go to Disney. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
So, but thinking like while we're on the subject of High Republic, like what is your? Because I'm behind on that. Just started the third book, and maybe like 2 chapters in. I haven't had time to sit down and listen to the whole thing. But what would you say is like the pinnacle of the High Republic for you right now?
There's no, I can't say that there is a pinnacle, but the High Republic reminds me of the expanded universe, you know, because I'm also a huge EU fan. My favorite Star Wars character of all time is Jaina Solo. And when those stories, the problem that we had back then is they made Star Wars too narrow, right? It was only focused on
The
Skywalker Solo legacy moving forward. And, you know, I love Jaina. There's like 60 books with her in it. Wow. So it could be you know, not the greatest book, but you're still enjoying watching this character's journey. I have to say, with the High Republic, the interconnectivity of all these books leads to an interesting atmosphere where it's not a direct continuation, and you can hop in or out, or you can miss certain books, right? You couldn't do that in Legend. You can't just not read the middle 2 books of NJO. It wouldn't make any sense. Yeah. But at the same time, you get to watch these characters' journey and grow and change and evolve, and it's just been, and the writing has just been really good.
Yeah. So, like you said, you were huge into the EU back when it was a thing. I was never one of those. I think I tried to get into the Legend stuff as I started listening to the canon novels. I'm like, I'm gonna go back and listen to a couple of Legends books. I listened to Plagueis, amazing story. I got speaking, you know, my TikTok tag Rogue Leader, so I went back and listened to some of the X-Wing books. I'm like, I gotta continue this. Those are good. What would you say is your favorite like Legends storyline? Like if you were to tell me, as somebody who has very limited knowledge of Legends, like you have to read this storyline or continue this and look at that, what would you say to somebody like me?
Ooh, have to read it would definitely be the Darth Bane trilogy. It's just so dang good. All of those books, especially the first books. A lot of the Old Republic stuff in general, it's so far back that it's its own kind of isolated thing, and so you don't need a lot of context. A lot of the like post stuff all is self-referential and like a whole amalgam of stuff, so it's kind of hard to get in and out. But you know, Darth Bane for Old Republic, but there's also Heir to the Empire is kind of what got everyone going on it, introduced Thrawn. But there's also the side book called Allegiance by Timothy Zahn. And I just love that book. It's about a group of stormtroopers who were like part of a local garrison, like that was their planet, and the non-local garrison, like the rest of the Empire, comes to the planet, is looking for rebels, is trying to make them do things they don't want to do. They ended up defecting, but they're still stormtroopers, and they believe in being stormtroopers. So they go around as a small group, just trying to do good stuff as stormtroopers. And it's just like it's an interesting story. I really love that book, Allegiance. So yeah, those books.
Yeah, I like seeing that angle of characters, because like I think my favorite, but the character that I want to see jump to live action is Iden Versio. Like, she's such a fascinating character. Gina Gavankar loves playing her. I listened to the audiobook of Inferno Squadron. She's fantastic narrating it. Yeah. It's so good. So I really want to see her jump into that. What would you say is something from Legends that you would like to see adapted to just come into canon? Because I've after reading Plagueis, I was like, just make that canon. You can plop it into canon. You might have to tweak a couple things, but that story is pretty good to fit in canon right now. But is there anything like that you would like to just adapt it, bring it into canon already, because it's such a good story that it needs to be told?
Yeah. So with some tweaks, like you said, Plagueis, excellent story. It's a Palpatine origin story, and I think that's really good. And then there's also just certain small things that I think need to be brought in, because one thing that we are kind of missing is the factions, right? So there was like a faction of smugglers,
Mhm.
led by like Booster Tarek, or there is like a group called the Hapes Consortium, which is like another essentially empire that's separate. They're matriarchal,
Mhm.
and they just run different, its own whole system of planets. And some of that smaller stuff, I think we could really get some more flavor,
Mhm.
because we're still mostly dealing with the two large factions, But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Do you ever like, especially with the new stuff coming out from the canon right now, novels and comic books? Do you ever get? Because I remember the problem I had with what was it, the Lando and Han Solo book? I can't remember what it's called. It was
Last shot.
Last Shot. That's what it is, a Last Shot. And like, I like it when, especially for like these the characters outside of the Skywalker story, to have these smaller, more confined stories. I think my biggest problem with that book was like, oh, they're trying to rule the galaxy again. It's like, we don't. Every villain doesn't have to try to control the galaxy and stuff like that. Do you ever find that like annoying? Sometimes like, oh, great, another villain that wants to take over and rule. It's like, can it be something small like, oh, I just want to get this last score on a smuggling run or something like that? Do you ever find that frustrating when you read all the new stuff?
Sometimes I will say it comes up a lot less in canon than it
Mhm.
did in Legends.
Mhm.
That was all the time in Legends. Like I don't know, Palpatine's long lost son with three eyes named Triclops. Um, like what is this? I don't know. It's super weird.
Yeah.
But in the canon, there are quite a few of those just smaller books of like you can read Phasma, which is
Mhm.
Mad Max in space,
Mhm.
but amazing, like. And so that's one of the things I've appreciated, is that they've really tried to make Star Wars broader and
Mhm.
not just focus on this little bit. And so, I mean, for you, if you haven't read Alphabet Squadron,
I'm in the middle of it.
you got
I
to.
only listened to the first book because they're so long. The books are so, there's three of them so far. I'm so behind on everything. Like,
Yeah. Oh, so there's only three. There's
mhm.
only three. It's a trilogy.
Mhm.
Um, and the third book is one of the greatest Star Wars books I've ever read. Second
Wow.
one, I did have a hard time getting through.
Mhm.
First one was really good, but seeing that how you like pilots,
Oh yeah.
if you liked the Rogue Squadron books, if you liked Inferno Squadron,
Mhm.
you're gonna love,
Yeah.
absolutely love this book.
Yeah, I've gotten through the first book. I just haven't gotten around to reading the rest of them because I'm trying to. I wanted it like, because I got through that and I'm like, oh god, I'm falling behind the High Republic. So I wanted to catch up with that, and then I'm falling behind on that. And so it's just, there's so much. Like we said, there's so much Star Wars out there. And like, I think that's one of the things that I always talk to when you ever run into somebody who's like, oh man, Disney and the way they're handling it. It's like, the way they're handling it is phenomenal. And sure, like the movie, you have some problems with the movies here. There's like, but you're focusing on this one part of Star Wars that is like, like you said, focus on one storyline when you have all these other stories that are out there that I really want to enjoy. It's just, it's a good problem to have, I should say. Too much Star Wars is
Yeah.
a good problem. So
And that's why I have so I'm caught up on the books, but
mhm.
that's why I can't let myself get behind. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it sucks being behind the eight ball.
Yeah. So getting back to Star Wars Celebration, I know that I've had a couple people on, and especially my guest, my other TikTok friend, Alderman Places. I had her on, big cosplayer. So we talked about cosplay. Are you into that kind of thing? Are you planning on dressing up at all? Because I know there's a couple of people that like Element said he's dressing up for at least one day. So are you into that, or is this something you're just like appreciating watching people do it?
No, I'm into it. I
Nice.
will say that quarantine has not been the best on my midsection. Um, but we're working on that. We're working on that.
Mhm.
I do plan. I'm planning out two cosplays right
Nice.
now. So we'll have to see, because one of them is going to be tough.
Oh no.
I am in the process of printing and building essentially a Wookiee face, and my mom is hairdresser and knows how to like put on, like I'm gonna try to do a black chrysanthemum,
Oh wow.
like a I'm I'm gonna go. I know I won't have time to do a full body and
Hmm.
stuff, so I'm gonna try to do a classy chrysanthemum and just like wear a nice suit
That's
with the
awesome.
full head. So that's the first goal.
Uh,
Second one is a secret cosplay
Oh,
that you will
you
have
can't
to
tease
wait to
us a
see.
bit. The chrysanthemum sounds amazing though. Wow. Because I had an idea. I have two planned like you do, but they're very simple. I'm almost very new to cosplay. I finally got all the pieces I need. I just got to tinker with everything. I'm obviously going to have my Jedi tunic, and then I have a Han Solo that I'm going as. But that's gonna be crazy because I put my Jedi tunic on and while I'm doing my TikToks and I'm sweating already. I'm like, oh boy, this is not gonna be fun come May.
Yeah, you have to plan accordingly.
Mhm.
There's a lot of stuff I didn't know how to consider. At the last celebration, I did a Mace Windu cosplay,
Oh, nice.
which a lot of black people cosplay. You just have to shave your head. so I did so, but I never stopped laughing about this idea that I'm in a ton of family photos with just random people, but it's not me in a mask. It's not me in a helmet. It's just me. It's just Brandon in that person's family photos that they're posting online. It's just a weird concept.
How long have you been cosplaying a while now, or is it just something that like you'll do here and there?
Oh yeah, it's just something like I would never consider myself a cosplayer. I just am
Hmm.
someone who has cosplayed before.
Yeah. What else are you looking forward to at Celebration? Because there's the exclusive merch store. There's obviously it's like we always get some kind of big news celebration. Like, what are you looking forward to hearing? What are you looking forward to doing while you're there?
Well, so this is the first celebration since I started creating content.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is being able to hang out with you and everyone else. Um, we even have like a Discord for people, and I don't know if you're in there
I'm in there.
already.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm my life is just too busy. I don't even go in there very often,
Uh-huh.
but um, no, we're gonna. I don't know. We're just gonna do a lot of stuff and just have fun
Hmm.
vibing together. You know,
Yeah.
like there was a period of time where I was worried because the Star Wars fandom felt very like tumultuous.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't think it is. I think a lot of that is just a bunch of edgy 13-year-olds,
Hmm.
um, or old man yelling at cloud, type thing.
Yeah.
I feel like once we're uh, it's I mean the line's a little cheesy, but it was like they win by making us think we're alone,
Hmm.
but there's more of us, and I look forward to being there and just vibing.
Yeah. Do you think that has something to do? Because I've actually experienced that too. It's like but when I joined TikTok, I was like, oh, I don't want to like say this or that or give my opinion because I don't want to have to deal with that part of the fan base of just yelling at me. But then, we start connecting with different people like yourself and Element and all the other people that I have become mutuals with. It's like, wow, there's like you said, there's more of us. There's like I didn't realize there's so many other people that shared my love for certain things. Because I told you guys when you had me on Diet that like I'm the most forgiving Star Wars fan you'll probably ever meet. There's very little that I don't like about the franchise, and I was like, I'm probably the only one that thinks this way. But then I meet other people on TikTok. I'm like, oh, other people like what I like, and other people like because I love Rise of Skywalker. Not a lot of people say that, but then there are a couple of people that I've met that do. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Have you had that experience of like you joined TikTok and you had a big social media presence now, and it's like, oh, that toxic fan base that everybody is like sees the fandom outside of our little bubble. That's the way they see us. Do you have that kind of same
Yeah,
experience?
no, that's absolutely what it is, and,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting because I mean it's a facet of social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to the algorithms and things are going to show you things that they believe that you want to see, and so and those people screaming the loudest, or those people screaming causes the most controversy, so those get covered more. I can make a thousand positive posts, or I can make a negative one, and the negative one will get
Mhm.
a spike in engagement, but not in interest,
Mhm.
not in a good way. you know and what I found is that the vast majority of Star Wars fans are happy, are enjoying things, or like maybe didn't like this movie, and they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's not like, and it's not saying, oh no, you can't share your opinion, or no, you have to censor yourself. No, it's like, um one of my hot takes is I didn't enjoy Rogue One when I first saw it. It actually took until last year I did a Rogue One episode on my podcast, and I had people who that's their favorite movie, and they were talking passionately about the things that they love about it, and I got to see things from different angles.
Mhm.
But prior to that, I didn't like the movie, and that's okay. I didn't I don't think about things that I don't like
Yeah.
often,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's a weird way to live.
Mhm.
That's just me.
Yeah. Do you have that experience with any other like of thing of Star Wars that you, especially like the movies? Because the movies like are almost like you watch it in theaters and then you, like you say, you probably don't think about it ever again. Me being forced to rewatch the movies for a trivia show that I'm a part of, like Rogue One, perfect example. I didn't like it the first time very much when I saw it. I'm like, God, I didn't really connect to the characters. I'm a huge character driven viewer. So if you can get me to like a character almost immediately, I'll most likely love the movie. I didn't really connect with the characters, but then going back and watching it a million more times, I appreciated all these small little nuances that I didn't see the first time. So do you have anything like that other than Rogue One that you had that kind of experience?
Yeah, well, for things kind of shifting on me,
Mhm.
I've had things shift in both good and bad ways.
Oh no.
I loved Attack of the Clones a lot more in the past than I do now. And
Yeah.
it's not even anything bad that happens. It's
Mhm.
just that I kept falling asleep when watching it. And I
Yeah.
was like, I guess that means I don't like it as much.
Yeah.
I feel like I do, but I just fall asleep
Yeah.
like during the middle section. Um, and then there's also certain things that I've gone to appreciate. I've made a lot of content of surrounding like certain characters like Mace Windu, who's
Mhm.
always like who's kind of crapped on by a lot of the community,
Mhm.
but then rewatching Clone Wars and like seeing his episodes, you're like, he didn't do any of that stuff that people say he does. Like none of it ever.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned like falling asleep during Attack the Clones because before my wife joined the Schmodown, she would help me study. So she would watch and take notes, and it would always take her like at least 2 days to get through Attack of the Clones because like you, she fell asleep in the middle of it. It's like, oh my God, you gotta finish it. So it's funny.
Yeah, I don't know if I could probably do it. I was like, I don't know if I have the fortitude to train like you do have, like you have to for the trivia,
Yeah.
but I still want to try it at some point in time.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I had this conversation with not just like you guys, but with everybody else that's a huge Star Wars fan. It's like it's a different muscle. Like there are some times where I watch your videos and Element's videos, like God, I wish I knew that much about the lore of Star Wars, and I wish I had read all the books back then. But like it's just a different way of there's different ways of knowing Star Wars, I should say. Like people that have a podcast, you can talk all day about Star Wars. Like the people from Resistance podcasts or from Star Wars Newsnet, they found their way into the Schmodown last season. They talk about Star Wars every week, but then we talking to them, they're like, yeah, it's way different to be quizzed on Star Wars in that fashion. Knowing different parts of it's a different thing. And I just for the past 3 to 4 years, I've just leaned heavily into that side of it. But then I wish I would have been able to like be free to experience other parts of Star Wars that aren't the movies. So it's a huge reason why I'm so behind on everything, is because I have to keep my knowledge fresh by continuing to watch the movies over and 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 over again. So I'll be happy when we can take another break, because there's so much stuff that I want to catch up. Not just Star Wars stuff, but like Marvel stuff. We haven't seen Encanto or Turning Red. We haven't seen any other all this stuff, and I'm hearing amazing things about all these things, but it's just like I don't have the time. But
oh, and so that actually, you saying that reminds me of one more thing I wanted to say about the community.
uh-huh.
The thing I found is there's so much overlap with geeks.
Yeah.
I love Marvel, I love DC, I love all this stuff, and because of that, was invited to like the premiere, or like a private showing of Morbius, where we had Jared Leto and Tyrese and all the actors and stuff showed up.
Was that the one that Koi Chandri was hosting?
Yeah. So I got to catch up with Koi.
Yeah,
and
Koi's awesome.
Like Straw Hat was there, and Man is just vibing, and like a lot of my TikTok mutuals and stuff who almost exclusively do Marvel or comic book content, and talking to them, even some of the cosplayers, I think Bree, I can't remember her name, Bree and Baby Chan were both there, and I found both of them from doing Star Wars cosplay, and both of them like, yeah, we don't mess with Star Wars anymore because those people are crazy. And you find out all of these people love Star Wars, and they still do. They just aren't making content because they're afraid of falling into certain people, because they, and it's interesting. It's just more validation that there's a lot more people that just enjoy the things, but some people are just like, I'm just not going to interact with this side of it because but it's, I do kind of feel you on some of those things. I'm not training for any quizzes or anything, but we put on a trivia tournament, and just having to churn out questions and stuff means rewatching things and like trying to get really great and breaking out reference books and all this stuff, and or even they send us early release books and stuff like that. And as much as I love the books, like I'm just finishing up Queen's Hope, which comes out tomorrow, and excellent book, but like you'll be reading it, taking notes, when sometimes you want to just read it. You know what I mean? You just want to just like marinate in it, but you're like, I have to turn this into pieces of content. So it's it's interesting.
Yeah, but speaking of that, like, since taking notes while you're doing stuff, I've found that through my studies that I've with Rogue One, I've learned to appreciate certain things. Like, I actually do enjoy watching the Clone Wars movie. It's just knowing where these characters end up, knowing that it's just a small little drop of a huge story that that's out there. I actually do enjoy watching it. But do you ever find something in when you're taking notes that you have more deep appreciation for? Like you said, the Queen's the trilogy of books. I always looked at Padme as that one character that was like, oh, let's all stop fighting, and in the middle of a gunfight, it's like, hey, let's just stop and start talking. I always saw her as that character, but then the first book comes out, and I have a whole new appreciation for her character. So, do you ever find yourself like taking notes on something, and then looking at it and oh, I wonder more about this? Because I'll do that all the time with tertiary characters, background characters, actors, and I'll go huh, that's interesting. And I'll look at their history. I'm like, oh, I never knew that about that character. Do you ever find yourself doing that, going down a small little rabbit hole?
Oh, all the time, all the time. It's like, so there's two sides to it, because one is breaking things apart, which is what you're doing when you're taking notes. You're taking this big thing, and then and this is especially true when I'm doing podcast episodes on specific movies, because I'm rewatching the movie, saying, okay, these are the three acts of it, and then first act breaking this down, whereas you never notice half of what I remember in Revenge of the Sith is all in the first act.
Yeah.
And I forget how much stuff just happens in that movie altogether until I'm taking notes. But then there's the other side of it, of the feels you get from not thinking, just letting it pass through you. So you have both sides. But I always find more stuff and deeper stuff, or little moments I glossed over. Like you totally forget that. Um, they mention Quinlan Voss by name in Revenge of the Sith and stuff like that. That you
Yeah.
just
So back to Celebration, like, are you looking to get anything while you're there? Because I've never, ever been able to get into the exclusive merch store. Like, I've been twice. Never wanted to wait that, because I think that's the one thing, especially now that they got the app, that's the one thing you can't reserve a spot. You have to get into the line. But I've always found that I want, like, wandering the showroom floor of, like, I'm always trying to hold myself back. Like, oh, I'd really like to get that, but I already spent enough money on my plane ticket here. I don't need it. So are you one of those people that would like to try to, like, find that special little something on the showroom floor, find that one piece of exclusive merch that they're only selling at Celebration?
well, I guess I have kind of like two feelings about it. Where I as a person, I've moved around a lot in my
Yeah.
life, like a lot. So I've never decorated a bedroom in my
Oh,
life
wow.
because you know,
Mhm.
I hit when I hit 30, I had moved probably 40 times in my
Oh,
in my life.
wow.
Um, and it was just my family. Like we moved up and down the West Coast.
Hmm.
We one time we bought a house, we moved into it, we lived there for 3 months, and then we moved back to our old house because my
Why?
little brother's allergies and stuff was
Oh,
he, and so it was just yeah, I've moved around a lot, so
wow.
I've never been super into collectibles.
Hmm.
I've never had that luxury, but I would, if I can get in there. Yeah, I would definitely love to, because I think for the first time in my life, I can do that stuff now.
Hmm.
So we'll see. We'll also see how my wallet feels, because
Yeah.
after I am here in Southern California, but I'm in Oceanside, and so like after a place, and then I'm putting up the money for certain things,
Hmm.
and then people pay me, and so
Yeah. Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
it's not where I want to be, but it is what it is.
Yeah, because yeah, because everybody, it's like the Discord that we got invited to. It's like everybody's like, let's go to Disneyland and do this. I'm like, dudes, I don't have that kind of time or money, man.
And for them it makes sense, because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I'm flying in from here, so it's cheaper than having to fly in another time
Hmm.
and have another hotel. Like it's cheaper to do it in one trip. I get that.
Yeah.
I don't have that problem. That's not cheaper for me.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So have you had the luxury of going to Galaxy's Edge yet? Because I heard from
No.
a little, yeah, that's what Element says. Like you, I've I'm a lot like you. Like it took me, God, when did Galaxy's Edge open up here? I can't remember what year it did, but like the years, like I'm not gonna wait. I'm not going the first opening day. That sounds like a nightmare. So I waited. I was like, let me wait a couple of years, like a year or two, and then I have my daughter. We can't go then. It's like, all right, well, we'll wait we'll wait a little bit more, to where we can leave her with grandparents or something, and then I'll go. Then the pandemic hits. It's like, oh boy, and it just keeps rolling. And then finally this year we were able to go. But are like, what are the plans for that? Are you have any plans soon, or like, because it's an experience?
I would love to. I would
Yeah.
love to. There's a few people close by. Like we have our friends from the podcast, Dark Side Divas. So I know Chris lives close, and so he goes all the time. And Manicalorian is also goes quite a bit,
Hmm.
and Camilla is down here as well. So there's like, I do want to go, and I would love to go soon. I was also in the same boat where it was like, okay, well, it's just coming out, so I don't want to go then, because it'll either be packed, and there probably won't be a lot of stuff set up yet because they don't know what problems they're going to have.
Hmm.
And then they were like, okay, we're going to create a new ride called Rise of the Resistance. I was like, well, then I can't go until Rise of the
Yeah.
Resistance is finished. And then that got pushed back. And then this, and then that, and then this, and then that. And then I lost my job and pandemic.
Hmm.
And then you get a new job, and you can't take any time off in the
Yeah.
beginning. I'm in the financial industry, and it's tax season right now. There's
Yeah.
just always stuff, but that's kind of how life goes. There's always a million reasons not to do stuff. And then I'm like, oh well, if all I'm doing is just sitting at my desk, I got to do something, you know?
Yeah. It is a magical. I didn't do everything I wanted to do when I went, but it is just like being a lifelong fan of Star Wars, just walking in and especially when I walked into Falcon for the first time, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an experience. Like, and whenever you do get a chance to go, like, you need to take a video of yourself, because my friends didn't take a video of me when I walked into the Falcon, thankfully, because I was just crying like, this is amazing. It was so cool. But yeah. Anything else that you're looking forward to at Celebration? Like any big news that you hope to hear while you're there? Because there's got to be something. There's gonna be something.
Oh, absolutely. So we got certain things that are geared to come out, right? I need Ahsoka news.
Yeah.
Just like when I first saw the Ahsoka logo and the design in the background is the Virgin scatter, mm-hmm. and you're like, I didn't know what that means. You know, I have predictions. I think mm-hmm. she's back to being a Jedi, or considering herself a Jedi. Mm-hmm. I think she's playing the role of Wayseeker at this point in time, but mm-hmm. that's a whole side topic. I do want confirmation on that. But you can't name drop Thrawn, you know, mm-hmm. and where's Grand Admiral Thrawn? And you're like, wait, so this person has seen him? Where's Ezra? Like the hell?
Yeah.
Like, the Acolyte. I need news
mm-hmm.
on the Acolyte. That's one of my most anticipated shows, because we don't get to spend much time in the dark side, at least in canon Star Wars, not yet. So I need that. I need quite a few. I know nothing about Andor. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of stuff that they're playing close to their chest, and I'm hoping that we're gonna get some information on them.
Yeah, I'm expecting something, at least, because Rogue Squadron got delayed, and it's probably gonna get delayed again, which hurts my little Rogue Leader heart, because out of everything that dropped that day, I was like, that's what I'm waiting for. That's the movie I wanted to see. I want Wedge Antilles leading the charge for Rogue Squadron, doing the impossible, because that's what the Rogue Squadron was made for, to accomplish the impossible. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up here. This is a fun conversation. Thank you for joining me on this episode. It was such a great time to get to know you a little bit better from the little bits of interaction that we did on TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me. You will definitely be welcome back on Dyad and on High Ground and wherever else you want to go.
Yeah. So So speaking of those shows, if our viewers aren't familiar with your stuff online, where can they find you online?
Yeah, so I'm Darth Choco on TikTok, Darth Choco on YouTube. Hopefully a lot more YouTube will be stuff will be coming out soon. I have the High Ground podcast, which is live on YouTube Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Do Diet in the Force with Element 7 every Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. But that also is made available wherever you can find podcasts. And yeah, just have fun talking about Star Wars. If you want to talk Star Wars and, you know, are a positive mindset, you don't have to love everything, but you have to not be a about everything. You're more than welcome to hang out, to join the community, and it's great.
Yeah, sounds right up my alley. That's the kind of community that I want to be a part of. But as for me, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Drew DiMalanta, DiMalanta, and on TikTok at Rogue Leader Drew. If you're listening to this on audio form, please follow the feed and rate us. And if you're watching and listen on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon in the lower right-hand corner. See when we do things on this channel, which is every Monday, Beyond the Schmodown. And sometimes on Friday, we do Radcasts. We got to get back on that. We've been very bad about that. But Choco, thank you again so much for joining me on this episode. It was a lot of fun. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of Going Rogue. May the Force be with you. Always.